Hey Ryan, this is Keaton Everett with ABC, going over your pitching video from camp. I'm going to go through and look at your mechanics and kind of talk a little bit about mechanics and what we look for. There's a couple of things we kind of key off on, and you know, the biggest sort of three areas we look at is, you know, how we start. Where are we breaking our hands? You know, where's our weight distributed? You know, where are we? Basically, how we start dictates so much how we're going to finish. So, you know, if we're not starting the right spot, chances are we're not going to get ourselves into that right finish. All right, starting, you know, pitching's all about getting ourselves consistent. We want to make sure that we're consistently having the same mechanics every time, and that's basically consistently breaking our hands at the same time, getting that arm path going, getting that timing. That's just going to be huge for consistency. All right. Next part we're going to look at is that foot strike. So once that left foot first comes up off the ground, then it first touches the ground, you know, we're going to look at, you know, it shows a lot of how we're kind of working. It's going to show a lot of, you know, are we using our lower half to throw the ball? Are we opening up early? We're going to be able to tell if our arms are in a good, healthy position. And then at that spot, you know, we can kind of see through release, you know, how do our hips work in relation to our shoulders? You know, where are we releasing the ball? And we'll kind of go from there. So first off the bat, you know, overall pretty solid. All right, there's a few things that we can kind of work on, and it basically is using that lower half, getting that lower half involved, and I'll kind of go through and show you here. So right off the bat, all right, as you're starting, all right, we're gonna walk through here through this motion here. All right, so first off, right off the bat, eyes on the target. That's awesome. Don't see a whole lot of guys doing that. So just keep those eyes right on that catcher the whole time. All right, the biggest thing that you need to work on here is we got to make sure that we're loaded up on this backside. All right, I'm going to draw a box over your head, and we're going to draw a box over your hips. And we just got to make sure that as this leg comes up, we're staying over this back foot. All right? So what you're noticing here is as this leg starts coming up higher, you're dropping down out of that box, out of this top box here. All right? And you can see that everything's starting to go forward. All right? So your leg is at its highest point right here. So you can see you've dropped down, you've shifted forward. All right, at this point, we still want your head in this box. All right, we want to see your head travel from the top of this box in a straight path following the mound. We don't want to see any drop down because that just makes you shorter. It loses power. All right, and you can just see it. It just is a spot where we just don't get power from your quad. You don't get power from flexing that leg down at all. So the biggest thing for you to work on, to stay tall, all right, don't let that head dip down, and then you got to get to a point where you're loading up on the inside part of this knee, you're loading this hip up forward, and you're loading up on that inside part of that foot so you can get to a balanced position and not rush out of the gate, all right? Because we need our hands breaking at the same spot over the rubber somewhere. Oops, wrong object there. We want our hands breaking somewhere over this foot, over that rubber every time. And when you're rushing, you're going to be able to do it here one point, you might do it here one point, you might do it here. It's just really hard and inconsistent if you're rushing to break those hands and get that arm path in the same position. There's no benefit to starting your body down the hill. Now there can be a little bit of play. You know, we're not saying to come set and pause over that back leg, but you got to be already preset, loaded up on that backside, and then go. You know, you can have a little bit of movement forward, but you're just getting a little bit too out ahead of yourself. And we're going to show you what happens when you're doing this. All right. So you notice. So basically, you're breaking your hands late. We want to see hips lead down the mound. We want to see knee start to drop, and we want to see that ball start coming out of that glove all at the same time. All right. So you're seeing hips going down the hill, and you're seeing that knee go down, and then you're seeing those hands break. So the hands are breaking right in this position. All right, so your hands are late. All right, and you can also see that foot starting to lead a little bit outside of that hip. So you're starting to hinge that left side open a little bit, and you're going to lose some power in those hips. So you want to try to keep this hip leading down the hill farther. So you want to keep these guys closed longer and farther down the hill to get a little bit more power. All right. So like at this position, you might just start seeing your foot kind of come level with your hip. All right. So you're just a little bit early with your hip rotation, and you're late with your hands. All right. So you're going to see that this glove starts to curl out. All right. So it's pointing all the way towards first base, which is going to pop open this shoulder. All right. We want to try to keep this hand neutral. We don't want to pronate our hand at all. We want to keep that glove, you know, facing the ground. Just if someone were lifting up on your elbow or something, you know, we don't want any flexion. We don't want any extension, pronation, supination out of that glove, because all that's going to do is that's going to take everything that way towards first. All right. So as we kind of kick along here, all right, your arm does pretty good at catching up with your body. All right, you were late, and you're able to maintain a good, solid position with your arm. All right, what we kind of look for here, red flags, are if we're in this position, if our elbow gets above, or if our elbow gets below. So you're in a good position. But what you're going to notice is as that front side pulls off. All right, so this is right where your front foot hits the ground. All right, because this left hip was opening up early, you can see that this back foot is already completely turned. All right, we talk about torque and wanting this back hip to turn before that upper body, but you're completely turned before your foot's hitting the ground. So what we want to try to see is once that foot hits the ground, all right, this is the heel's off the ground somewhere, but we still have a little bit of energy left in that hip to transfer everything to that front side. So now we're still going to have energy to transfer out front instead of everything already turned, and now it's just kind of relying up on this upper body. So you can see back at foot strikes, we'll go back. So right when that front foot hits the ground, all right, you can see this is completely closed, or this is completely open right here. This back shoulder's starting to turn. So everything's starting to turn, all right. We want to try to get to a point where we're still back here, but that front elbow hasn't turned down yet. All right, we're still back over that back hip, but we haven't rotated yet. So that front side's just a little bit early, and that's a big key that comes back here of just how this is going to pop open, and this is early too. And that's just the big cause of over-rotating the hips and then over-rotating that upper body. And that's a big power loss, all right? You do a good job at fixing that glove out there. That's good. But what you're going to notice is that early rotation in your hips. You know, we almost kind of want to see your leg at this position at foot strike. So that heel's just coming off the ground, that knee's turned down, and we want to see that foot on the ground there. And this is actually a pretty good position for foot strike. This is pretty good. Your front side hasn't turned over. So if we can get this to look like, you know, if we can get this to be at our foot strike, you know, we're going to be able to, we're sitting pretty. So it's just a matter of just starting too early, just rushing. You know, this should be about where our foot strike is, and not here. So you just over rotate a little bit. And then another thing too is through release, you can see because you've rotated early, you're going to watch this front knee start collapsing in towards your back knee start collapsing in towards your front knee through release. All right, and so you're releasing the ball really flat with this back leg, you know, almost kind of crunching up here, forming this angle, and you're releasing the ball right about here. All right, your head's probably about over this back heel. All right, we want to try to stay through this back leg a little bit more, where it's straightening up and we're driving off that back heel, and we're getting down over that front foot. So now our head's getting down over that front foot, and we're finishing out front, driving our chest down over that front foot a little bit more, same through our legs. All right, so we're just going to get in this position where we're here through that back leg more, and now we're getting more of an angle where that head's farther out over that front foot. All right, so anyways, hope you had a great time at camp. Hope you're having a great season this year, and look forward to seeing you again with ABC.